interested in luxury? Anybody interested in luxury? Because we reinvented luxury yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Luxury is breath. Luxury is Mama Earth. Luxury is being in this room with this family, right? So who is interested in luxury? We're not. Because we are reinventing luxury once again, because we're going beyond the labels. We're talking about the little details that matter. We're not talking about the opulence. We're not talking about the ornateness. We're talking about things that matter with people who matter. You're going to meet some of the most influential people from India with experience. This is going to be very precious, with experience of multiple decades, probably a century, accumulated between the panelists today. As we invite them and as we meet with them, these are the stalwarts from hospitality, from design, from luxury, from high-end brands, all of it. So we invite you to join us in this discussion. Please welcome this lovely lady coming on the main stage, somebody who has been generous and kind enough to also curate this powerful session with influential people from across the board. I welcome Dinaz Madhukar, the Executive Vice President of DLF Luxury, Retail and Hospitality, one of the premier brands that we know in this country, in luxury, in real estate. I also invite to join us on stage, Dilip Puri, the founder and Chief Executive Officer of Indian School of Hospitality. An honor to invite the icon in the world of fashion and design, a name you know, a face you know, the label you know. I invite Suneet Verma. A designer of international repute. Ladies and gentlemen, in the house, Suneet Verma, in flesh and blood. Akash Puri. Welcoming Mr. Puri, the Director International of India Sotheby's International Realty. Welcoming Jyotika Jalani, an entrepreneur and founder of Jahnavi. What an honor to have these preeminent personalities in the house with us in an intimate conversation on day 6 of the Women Economic Forum in New Delhi. This only happens once. So bring your energies and your heart open and welcome them.
Also, I would like to mention, Mansi, we had a luxury panel just the other day, and redefining luxury and also understanding what your luxury is, because it changes every day. So as the panel happens, also think about what are some of the luxuries that you're thankful for each and every day that you have in your life. So again, a big round of applause for the entire panel, and we would like to now let Ms. Dinaz take over the panel. A big round of applause for Dinaz Madhukar.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a good session so far.
Yes.
Okay, I'm really lucky and blessed to have this panel here with me. And it comes from years of association with both the hospitality and the fashion industry. So I'd like to thank all of you for being here. I know it comes at the end, but I want to start by thanking you all for being here. Thank you so very much. In simpler times, luxury used to have a very basic connotation, that which was exclusive, that which had quality, that which had the right price attached to it. That was luxury. Today, as we go on, we see luxury evolving. We see luxury being associated with tags. We see words like experiential, curated, artisanal luxury, these kind of labels being attached to it. So today, my panel, they've just been introduced and you've seen their bios being flashed there, so I'm not going to risk that. We have only 45 minutes, but I've got Mr. Dilip Puri, I've got Mr. Akash Puri. It seems easier to say both the names together because the surnames are same. We've got Jyotika and we've got Mr. Suneet Verma, and they're all stalwarts in the industry. So I'm going to take us through a few questions that I'm going to put to them, and it's going to be more a question and answer and a discussion like in the living room. So please bear with us. And at the end, we'll give you time to ask us any questions if you have them, if we've not answered them subtly enough for you. I'm going to start with the gentleman to my immediate left, Mr. Dilip Puri. Dilip has a very interesting background of hospitality and now with education. So when we are talking about education in India, we're talking about institutes being graded, labels being attached there as well. Whether you are from BITS Pilani, whether you're from IIT, whether you're from IIM, there are always gradations being associated with it. And when you're talking hospitality, you're rating them on a star grading, 5-star, 5-star deluxe. These are the gradings that you give them. So we have certain homegrown brands like the Taj and the Oberoi's. Taj comes first because I'm from Taj, ex-Taj. With Taj, Oberoi's, ITC, you have these homegrown brands. And now you have the international players also all entering the country. Marriott, Starwood, all these brands are now coming into the country. So I wanted to ask this question to Dilip. Dilip, do you think a label or a brand association establishes the hotel more than the product itself?
Thanks, Dinaz. Morning, everybody. You know, I mean, I started my career with Oberoi Hotels, serious competitors to the Taj. I also work for the Taj, so I don't really have any biases. But even back then, you know, Oberoi Hotels was typically thought of as like the cradle of luxury, at least in our industry. And all of us who went to the Oberoi school, even 30 years ago, I remember Mr. Oberoi's concept of luxury. It was about product, it was about quality, but even then, he recognized that it was going to be about the experiences you deliver to your guests, and not just how lavish your hotel is, or how beautiful a chandelier is, or how fancy a carpet is. And I think today more than ever, it's actually the kind of experiences you deliver, whether it's to a customer coming into a high-end fashion store, or for us, even our students, in terms of how we try and make learning experiential. So I, not sure that brand label necessarily needs to be one where only with that label does the connotation of luxury come. I think if I just take the example of your hotel, Dinaz Lodi, I mean, that doesn't have a brand. But yet it becomes aspirational because in many ways it's a label in itself. So when you think of luxury and beyond labels, my own sense is that today newer labels are actually more exciting and will deliver better experiences because they are unique, they are new, they are more curated. When you look at big established brands in our industry, for example, globally, I spent many years working with Marriott and Starwood, great brands, Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, all of that. But I don't think those brands are surviving just on the basis of the labels and brand names today. I think they've all understood the mindset of a younger demographic in terms of consumers, and these younger demographics don't see the luxury the way perhaps we did in, when we were their age. And I think those brands, those labels who can deliver those experiences to the new age consumers, they're the ones who don't need to worry about whether there is a label attached or not.
That's wonderful. Jyotika, I know a little earlier we were discussing about your recent trip to Andamans, and you were talking about something associated, similar to what Dilip was saying, in terms of brands not necessarily being, I know we discussed the Taj out there, but I'm just saying, what Dilip said is right, but there are brands that get associated with luxury. So when you say Taj, by and large, whether it's a small 32-room hotel somewhere in the back of Beyond, or it is a pure luxury property in Mumbai or in Delhi, the expectations and associations with the brand are such that you have certain, I'll use the word again, but you have certain expectations from the brand. So do you agree with that, or do you think what Dilip said right now of individual brands being also associated with the product quality?
So if I understand your question correctly, I think today it's all about the experience. So whether it's a small little boutique hotel in Jaisalmer, like the Suryagarh property, or actually the Jalkara Hotel in the Andamans versus the Taj. The Taj, of course, carries a label of quality, and you are definitely going to go to a Taj or a Oberoi, and you will be guaranteed a certain level of comfort. But in the world of luxury today, boutique hotels will give you a better service. They'll know you by your name. Today, when you walk into the Lodi, there will be Vikram or Manish greeting you at the door. No matter how many people they are staying at the hotel, they all know you well. So I think it's all about the service and being given the kind of, we all today are traveling a lot, and we all want to feel special when we go to our hotel room at the end of the day. So it's not just about going to a branded hotel, a hotel that's known well in the world. So that's the way I would feel.
Okay, so I'm going to branch off to a different question here to you, Jyotika, because you make the most beautiful products. Your brand is associated with cashmere products across a range. It's not just about the stoles. It's about, you keep innovating, you keep adding things to it. I know your kids range. I know the range you do with your pets. I think it's phenomenal. You have the most exquisite brand that I can think of Indian origin. Suneet, sorry, I apologize, but keeping that in mind, when you work with international brands, first, how difficult was it to break into those geographies? And more importantly, how does it feel when that brand, being the larger brand, then carries their name on a product created by you? How does that feel? And how do you counter it?
Okay, so to tell you a little bit about our journey, and it's been 21 years this year. We started off by only supplying the international brands. We wanted to take the Made in India label as becoming a sense of pride. So we got Chanel, Dior, Ferragamo, and about 18 other brands to put Made in India versus Made in Italy and France on the on our product. That way they couldn't say that this product was made in their country, it was made in India. It didn't matter whether it was made by Jahnavi, but it was made in India. So that was a huge, 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 I would say, victory for us. And I think victory for India. 10 years. Thank you. 10 years into that, actually 11 years into that, Emporio opened up. I never wanted to get into retail or really push brand Jahnavi, but somehow I got the strength and we opened our own first retail store. And we started slowly getting into our own brand. And slowly we started pushing brand Jahnavi and started showing what we could do with our own brand. Today we are in 200 stores, the likes of Bergdorf Goodman, Saks Fifth Avenue, Harrods, Selfridges. I'm sorry, I'm not boasting here, but really we are in all the best stores, and of course at Chanakya and at Emporio. And it's really a sense of selling a product with our own brand. We don't really now produce for too many international brands anymore. We do it once in a while. But yes, what I was able to do was get our product up to the level that we could say that an Indian product could sit beside a product that was made in Italy, made in France, with pride. So when you look at luxury today, earlier on a made in Italy product was a luxury product. A made in India product was not. A made in China product was not. But a lot of brands today, believe me, are making their products out of India and out of China. It is not the same feeling when people look at the label and see made in India or made in China, but Janvi actually pushed that barrier. And today we've partnered Abu Jani and Sandeep Khosla. We have a joint label, which is Janvi India x Abu Jani Sandeep Khosla. We're coming up with another very, very nice partnership with a Thai brand, which is going to be launched in October. And again, another luxury brand. And very soon we will have a joint label with another huge international brand. Wait to hear from us about that. And that's an Italian brand, where it won't be written made in India, it'll be made by Janvi India. Thank you.
That's phenomenal. Suneet is one of my favorite people, and I never lose an opportunity to say that, so I'm going to say it here again, Suneet. I really love you.
Me too. Oldest friend in fashion.
Okay. Not only is he a renowned fashion designer who works in his own field of fashion, but he's one of those people who extrapolated it to go beyond just apparel and clothes. And you see his association happening at the Indian level, at the international level. He's worked with Judith Lieber and been the creative director for a range of products for them. He works with BMW, he works with Art Denox. So his associations are manifold. So Suneet, I'm going to ask you two questions here. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you both. How easy was it to get the international market to accept your name as the creative design for their products? And two, it's going to be, when you're working with all these kind of different associations, how do you actually think through these things and take fashion and design beyond fashion? How do you take that?
So I'll answer your first question first. I think a lot of international brands, when they come to India, so someone like a Judith Lieber, when they came to India, they needed an India association. They needed somebody to, it's exactly what Janvi as well, no? They needed somebody to push their brand over here, who could bring design and something special as well. So that's how it first started. I'm going to take Janvi's help over here. I'm not very good speaker.
So let me, he's giving me credit here. In the case of Suneet Verma, he actually not just designed for them, but the label was Suneet Verma for Judith Lieber. So that was a huge accolade, and he actually created handbags which they could never have conceived. At the same time, we were doing their shawls, but we didn't put Janvi on it. We did all their shawls for them, but we just put Judith Lieber on them. So that big this thing for you.
No, I think it was a very interesting thing because I had worked very, very closely with Swarovski India for many, many years. And Judith Lieber is basically made out of Swarovski stones. So they use the flat pack, which is the SS6 and SX10, a small tiny stone that they use flat pack in all the bags. And when they first came to India and they said, we like what you do with Swarovski and how creative you've been with their product, how can you bring a new, innovative, creative idea to the Judith Lieber bags internationally? So I said, great. So if you're willing to make that change, because they're an iconic 50-year-old American brand, one of the oldest American brands. So I went to Austria, worked with Swarovski, used much larger stones, developed new colors, new ideas, new clasps, new ways of actually functioning the bags as well, and created Taj Mahal for them. And last year, I had the great honor of actually creating their 50th anniversary bag worldwide. They also let me actually do all the bags for their Hollywood actresses. So I did stuff for the Met Opera. I did stuff for Sex and the City movie 2 for all the Oscars. So so we have everybody from Jennifer Lopez to Mariah Carey carrying our bags everywhere, which is a very interesting thing for me. With BMW, it was a very interesting idea because when they again came to India, and they said, we like to be associated with, we sort of like the way you function. And I think there's a certain, and I will just step aside from the earlier question that you said, I think there is a certain way to be able to work with almost everybody in the world if you position yourself correctly, which means that you always have to be not bigger than the brand that you're working with, but at least at power with the brand that you're working with. So of course, Judith Lieber is Judith Lieber, and BMW is BMW, but I'm me and Jyotika is her. You know, so if they've come out to us, reached out to us, they obviously have to value what we bring as an associate partner to that. So I did, you know, a lot of work with BMW, created some movies for them. I did a book with them. I launched all the 26 agencies all over India. And year before last, they gave me the great honor of designing the interiors of the new 7 Series in Munich. So I went to, but you know, the great thing about that is that you actually learn so much more. You know, so entering the BMW creative office is actually, it's like a James Bond movie. They scan your eye, they scan your face, they test your blood. It's really like a BMW movie and like a Bond movie. And when you get in, you realize that, you know, everything about the design, about that car, is about the human touch and feel. Because essentially everything becomes about that, because people feel so close to their cars, they feel so comfortable, they have to feel safety, they have to feel happiness, they have to feel, you know, they have to feel a certain kind of emotion. And eventually everything that you do in design, whether it's wearing Janvi's beautiful shawls, which I buy many of for my mother, to my sister, to my friends, or you sleep in one of her beautiful blankets, which I have, it's all about the sense of security, a sense of comfort, a sense of emotional attachment that you feel to these products. So with BMW as well, you know, when you really cut through the chase and when you've seen the glossy pictures and the great, beautiful cars, you only ever realize that everything that people are going to buy in luxury or otherwise has to have a human touch, feel, and emotional connect. And I think I kind of pretty much base my entire career on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Suneet. I'm going to come to you now, Akash. You've been associated with Sotheby's and you deal with the right customer profile that deals in luxury, that buys luxury, that appreciates luxury. And though I know your background is mainly the reality, and I'm also going to ask you a few questions on art, but I'll start with reality and say, you know, luxury in homes is, everybody talks about today, every project that you see is a luxury project, right? So how do you differentiate true luxury from what everybody is tom-tomming about as luxury? That's one question. The second is, do names getting associated with projects actually help? Because internationally you see a Giorgio Armani has a Giorgio Armani hotel, or a Baccarat has a Baccarat hotel. You see these kind of associations, but now in India you also find some of our fashion designers also being associated with it. You find homes designed by Rohit Bal, homes designed by Tarun Tehliani. So when you have these kind of associations, is that what the customer is truly looking for? Or is that something that's being just added for the namesake, just for the label? That's one of my questions.
Okay, so that's a long question. I hope I can remember every part of it.
I needed to talk.
So I'm going to just take a step back here to explain what luxury means when we speak about real estate, because it's very different than buying a product. For a lot of our clients, luxury actually means time, not just an experience. A lot of them, it means convenience, because you know, there is a paucity of it, and there's only so much you can do, and all my panelists, including you, are terribly busy during the day, and I can understand that you'd associate when I say luxury is time, right? So, another thing that Suneet said was that the emotive content, to feel comfortable with what you have or your surroundings, I think that also is luxury, because we're now in such a nuclear society that we're looking for that comfort, we're looking for that, feeling of a warm embrace, for example, when you come home. So, that also becomes luxury in a way, because you don't get it otherwise in our society. So when homes are designed, it's very important to keep many things in mind, not just the amenities, you know. So luxury, when it comes to having branded residences, is just a starting point. I think the customer has evolved to something much greater than that in life. So initially that may attract the customer to what is being provided. But what are you doing more than that? How are you making that emotional connect, the touch and feel with the client? How are you adapting the same flat, for example, to 100 different people who are going to be living in that? So do you have 7 or 8 floor plates? Do you have designs that match their moods, you know, and their conditions in family, if they're single occupants, you know, they're double occupants, a larger family. So it really varies, and that itself also becomes luxury, right? Your second question was?
What was it? So I asked you about the international hotels, and I asked you about the association, and I asked you about all the brands outside talking about luxury. Each and every brand today, you pick up a newspaper and you're seeing luxury apartments for sale. So
Right.
I mean,
So I think what I've covered kind of speaks about what we're moving into a different level of luxury. Of course, it is everything becomes is marketed as luxury. So the customer is more discerning now, you know, and I think luxury is getting very personalized, and I think we've also seen that with the designers in India, you know, and everything is getting more and more personalized and more accessible to people rather than it being at a higher pedestal.
my next question to you again is going to be, this is in the field of art, because there used to be simpler times when you saw something, it appealed to you and you bought it. It was all about what was syncing with your aesthetics. Today, I personally feel that people invest in art more than buying something that truly appeals to them for the appreciation value, because you know that that name, that artist's name is going to bring you that appreciation. Whether it's a Raza, whether it's a Hussein, whether it's a Gaitonde, it's not so much about what appeals to your aesthetics, but about what is the potential for it to appreciate. Do you agree with that? And
you know, that's actually a very good question. And I'm an ex-banker, so I see assets as the value they'll be able to bring you. So even when we sell a home to a client, we're thinking, what is going to happen in the next 5 years? Will I be able to bring my client appreciation, even if it's a luxury product, not just art? And will I be able to flip this apartment for him or the home for him? So in the same way, there are two types of, well, that's a blanket generalization, but yeah, there are broadly two types of people. One who have the money and they don't mind keeping something in their home that's beautiful, they like. And some of them are looking only to trade up, to be able to increase the value of what they're investing. And you know, to me, there are certain clients who are a bit of both. So they will have stuff that they like, no matter what it costs. Either it may be $100,000 or maybe $50, but it looks beautiful, it's in your home. And they may be also some paintings that you know that you're buying because it's a good investment decision. On your wall, it looks good, but you know that it's going to increase in value. And I think that's a very sensible thing to do, to have a bit of both.
great. Dilip, I'm coming back to you. And, you've worked with some of the largest hospitality groups. You've worked with Taj, you've worked with Oberoi's, IHG. How difficult was it to start a brand of your own? And when you were creating that brand, what were your thoughts? Did you think about what is... Because when you're talking hospitality education, you're talking about a whole segment. We've always said that hospitality is almost like the cradle from where you're taking people into every industry. So did you think of what is it that goes into it, and why the association with Lausanne? Was it just a tag?
So my inspiration and motivation to firstly get into hospitality education actually stemmed from the fact that as I saw young people graduate from university, there was such a serious gap between what the industry thought these graduates should have learned versus what they actually went through. So the idea was that how do you create a learning environment that almost simulates the environment they'll go and work in, which means when you create a campus, what are you keeping in mind? So while education is not a luxury product per se, but for us, the real premium comes from the fact that students get to experience an education clearly equal to, if not better than, global standards. More importantly, I think the luxury in education is when graduating students have 20 career choices and not just one. It's the ability to broad base what I call foundational education. The biggest challenge we see is when parents still want to tell kids that they should study ABC subjects because that's what they will do and get a job in this career. They see education as a means to a job. And rather than seeing education as a means, I think education needs to be an end in itself. About why an association with a brand like Lausanne, clearly coming back to your earlier question about the label, to us there's tremendous value addition there. Firstly, Lausanne's the world's #1 hotel school. Interestingly, some of the biggest luxury brands in the world go and hire from there. When you think Louis Vuitton or Prada wanting to go and hire students from there, the biggest investment banks in the world go and hire hospitality students, you have to wonder, because I think you asked me the question saying, are you doing hotel management? And the reality is we're not. Hotel management is 1 out of 20 choices you would have. And I always tell parents, I said, the issue is not going to be whether your kid will get a job. The issue is going to be that the kid will be so spoiled for choice that it'll be a good problem to have about, I've got 10 choices to make and where should I go and work? And even then I would tell them, just go where your heart takes you, what you think you want to experiment with, because there is no concept today of I have to be secure in my job or I have to have loyalty to a company I work for. This generation doesn't think that way. Similarly, when you think about how do you get them to understand luxury, I think you made a comment earlier, it's such a bastardized word in some ways, right? In terms of how people are seeing luxury. And I think that's where an education is important, to truly understand what luxury is. I always challenge our students to think of technology, for example, because that's what's changing our world. And when they see technology 10 years from now, has it enabled creating better experiences, more personalized experiences for guests in hotels? You think of, I'm sure all of you are familiar with Alexa, right? Now, that's basically voice-activated technology, which in my view is definitely going to be a technology of the future. But then you have to start thinking that in terms of delivering a luxury experience to guests in a hotel, what will Alexa do? So Alexa's in a guest room. Firstly, if you're single, then you have company. So there's Alexa who's there with you. And if you're with your partner, then Alexa makes it a threesome. So you think of. So now you start thinking, and I just when the other panelists were speaking about convenience, about time, about more personalization, that's what technology does and improves experiences. Whether it's a biometric check-in and so you don't waste time going to your room, or whether it's a robot coming to do housekeeping in your room, or whether it's just saying, Alexa, play my music because your playlist is on the phone, those are the personalizations which I think will actually connotate what luxury will be in the future. And to the point I think Sunit was making about human touch, the reality is that in the future, thanks to technology, the only uniqueness and differentiators left will be humans. Because technology will become just all prevalent, right? And then when you say, what does my customer need to truly deliver a personal experience, it will come back to the human touch.
Jyotika, you wanted to say something? I know
Yeah, actually, what I was wanting to add here, it's not really related to luxury. It's not related to what we're talking about right now, but I just want to share something that I was faced with 40 years ago when I left school. Probably the only one who left modern school at the age of 15 and a half and nowhere to go because I just thought school was not the place for me. And when I was talking to Dilip a little time ago, I said, what do the kids do when do they come straight to you? I wanted to get into a vocation. I did not want to walk the beaten path. So fortunately, life gave me opportunity after opportunity. I actually joined the World Bank at the age of 18, but before that I was at the Taj Hotel at 17. And at the age of 35, I started Janvi, which was my dream project. I'm not a designer. I come from Kashmir, I understand color, and I understand luxury because that's what we grew up in. We grew up in chatoushes when we were very, very young. And I remember, and I'll share a lovely little story with you. I was only 9 years old, and I was very cold, and I asked my mother whether I could wear her chatouche when I was doing my homework in Srinagar. And I wrapped myself up. And I was writing my, at that time we had these ink pens, and I was sitting on a Jamavar shawl and my mom's chatouche, which was in a light pink color, and drinking my milk, okay, and suddenly the pot of ink fell on the chatouche shawl. And hurry scurry, the milk fell on the shawl as well. And I got so panicky, so I said, I'm dead today, you know. So I went running to get some water. And by the time I came back, there was no stain on the shawl. The milk enzyme actually drank up all the ink. Yes, so actually this is something, don't try it today because I think the ink today has dye in it. Because we did try it at the factory. But this is just exactly, you know, that's how we grew up. And I said, you know, it's hysterical. And that with cashmere, you know, it's a luxury product and keeps you very warm. And it really has been a great 21-year journey for me. But really, I've had no background like Suneet has. He's highly qualified. He's very, very well trained. What
so well trained that that's the only thing I knew how to do. So it's a good thing that I do this. To come to education, and I really respect what you said earlier and what you're teaching and what you're going to bring to everybody. So everybody who's in school here, and to these bunch here, and to everybody whose children are in school and who have young brothers and sisters who are in school, I was the worst student ever. I think I passed, this is true, and if
no,
you
that's
go
not
back,
a license for you all to be the worst, sorry.
but I think I passed one math exam in 7th class in my whole life, and the entire school got a retest.
Oh no!
Because they could not believe that the Varma boy had passed the math exam. If the Varma boy had passed the math exam, there has to have been something wrong with the exam paper. But having said that, I was very good at debating, I was very good at art, I was not the head boy, but I was a school captain because of my other capacities within the art. And everybody from my parents onwards encouraged me to take that field. And eventually, there was only one way for me to go, which is where I am today. So I think this is all thanks to parents who actually recognize that, okay, he may not be good at math, but he may be good at something else. And I think for all parents over here who have struggling children, this might be a very good example to take as well.
You know, I'm going to throw one question open to all of you, because when you were talking earlier, Jyotika, you spoke about how India, product coming in from India, etc. There are certain labels that get associated with countries as well, like make in China products. Everybody thinks twice before touching something which is made in China or made in India, because of the quality connotation, to the extent that when we go shopping, we look at which country it's been made in, and we get surprised internationally when we pick up brands and we figure out it's been made in Vietnam, it's been made in Bangladesh. There's a connotation that happens with that. To today, where you see certain associations, like Louboutin has an association with Sabia, or brands now coming in with Indian products. So Suneet, when you started with Armani Junior, I remember creating those little kurtas. So how has that journey been, and how did you all get around to getting that acceptance?
Honestly speaking, I think it's more of a mindset where you just automatically believe that something made out of Bangladesh and China is not as good as quality or as premium product as, let's say, from Italy or France. Again, I think I feel when you collaborate, it's about the opportunity to learn and to expand. So I actually brought Armani Junior into India. I went and presented myself to them and I said, there's a big space available for luxury children's wear. And, I was being supported by Emporio to get a beautiful space. And they said, okay, we understand India and we understand that things should be cheaper and blah, 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 blah. But, what else can you do to make Armani Junior, strike a chord? So I said, what you have to do is what you have not done for any other country, which is to say you must make a Armani kurta for the little children. And they're like, what is that? I said, okay. I said, I'll sketch it out and I'll send you a pattern, you just make it. Okay. And I was feeling quite nervous saying that to the Armani group, honestly speaking. But they did that. They made, I think, 600 pieces. They made kurtas from age 8-month-old baby to, I think, a 12-year-old. And those are the first things that sold, actually. Yes. And for a very good price, So I think it's about that as well.
So I think the Made in India label now is not posing a challenge. As you can see, the high street brands, everything is made in Bangladesh or made in Sri Lanka. And all, when you look at brands like Zara or H&M and all, it's totally accepted. I would say in the luxury market, yes, it is a bit of a challenge, but when you take an embroidered or something which is a luxury high-end, so we make for Hermes or we make for Chanel or Dior, whenever there is an embroidery or there is some kind of handwork, they have actually started appreciating it. So it's actually become, it's an asset more than anything else. So they want to pay more for it. Like we sell to a brand in China. It's a brand which actually 10x's our product. They'll buy a shawl from us at $500 because it's all hand done, and they sell it from anywhere from $5,000 to $7,500. And we can sell them a shawl for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, and they'll just 10x it. So that is where the Chinese market and a Chinese brand, there's a brand called Wu, that's the kind of confidence they have in their own brand.
I've just been reminded that we have barely 7 minutes remaining. So I'm going to throw the questions open to the audience. If any of you have any questions for any of our jury, please, not jury, panelists, please do feel free to ask them. Okay, he's going to make...
I just want to say, somebody told me something very interesting, that so in hospitality and hospitality education, the Swiss set the benchmark. So it's all about Swiss hospitality originally, right? So when you think about it, that came about because in those days, Europeans traveled. The only travelers around the world were Europeans, I think 50, 75 years ago. Today, Europeans are traveling much lesser, and Indians and Chinese are traveling more. So when you think, and somebody said, actually in the future, for those people who work in hospitality, probably Indian managers and leaders will be more sought after globally because Indians will be the global travelers than the Europeans. So you will see that shift happening even in education.
Thanks.
One second. What makes a brand? Sorry, before that, Akash, you wanted to say something.
Yes, I just wanted to add to something that you said about Indians being managers globally, and we see that in the US. The top firms have, the top managers are Indians. Also from the fact for real estate, we have, as Sadhvi International Realty, we have offices in about 72 countries. And a lot of our overseas affiliates actually look out for the Indian buyer, because it is the Indian buyer that's going overseas to the US, to London, to parts of Europe, and getting more experimental now. It's just not about having a home in Upper East Side or in Belgravia, but it's also about going to the interiors of Italy experimenting, maybe picking a palazzo there, or going to the interiors of Bali. And there's a lot of demand for us, because they want us to come, and we have the money to do so. So, it's actually kind of flipped on its head. And so I just wanted to add to your point, what you said.
Just one word answer to the question that was asked to me, what makes brands? I would say just people make brands, like people make everything else.
Okay, to me, I just feel, to add to what Dilip just said, a brand is really created not just by people, but by what you perceive it to be. So it's like wearing a great watch. If you feel that this is something that has a certain value to you, and that's what it's, well, going back to the same thing, it is people, in other words, but it's the value you give to something. Today, a brand like Louis Vuitton, I'm a kind of person who does not wear a label. I will never wear something which says the label outside, unfortunately. So I'll wear, it may be a brand, and that is why Janvi for me, even though I feel we would globally become the world's most loved cashmere brand, it doesn't matter, there is no brand on it. I never wear a brand where there's a brand written outside. That's just me.
No, I think what Dilip said, that people actually make brands, and I think the most important thing about a brand is you have to remember this. Whether it's a Louis Vuitton or a Sunil Pharma or a Janvi or a Cartier, whatever, and I'm taking the luxury of actually associating ourselves with those brands as well. I think every brand has to perpetually remember that they need to be creative, they need to be innovative, they need to be up with the game with technology, they need to educate themselves, and I think never forget the fact that, when people are spending money. So someone said this to me a long time back, you can never buy luxury. You need to earn luxury, which is true. You need to earn. You need to be able to earn, and I don't mean earn the money to buy a Janvi. You need to earn the appreciation to be able to appreciate her product. You have to value it. So you can walk into a Louis Vuitton and buy a beautiful Louis Vuitton bag, or maybe buy 10 of them. But if you don't know how to look after it, if you don't know how to wear it, if it doesn't enhance your personality, if it doesn't give you a sense of a certain pride, then actually you haven't really earned it. So this is really important. You can only ever earn luxury, you can never really buy it, and I think those are the last words from me. Thank you.
Very well said.
Well, everything's really been said. So just to add to what all the other panelists have said, I just feel that constant evolution is what basically keeps the brand alive. And also, like they say that, of course, it's very great to evolve, but it's also very important to be true to yourself. So what was the reason behind the brand? And if you're maintaining those values, despite the fact of the changing environment and the demands and circumstances, and you evolve, that to me defines the brand.
What I'd like to end with is that our journey at Janvi has been one of just having fun, and every day we just enjoy what we do. And we have a team of about 400 people, and we all love what we do. And that, to me, it doesn't matter where we go. I don't know what numbers are. I can't. But as long as we love what we do and we're happy, that's all that matters.
I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for your time, for coming in here. And I know Harbeen's waiting to say a thank you, but I want to say thank you, Harbeen, for giving us this opportunity. It was lovely, and we hope we were able to add some value to your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Dinaz and the panelists. I just want to say, please be seated. It's just my turn to stand. So I just want to say that you're truly, truly enlightened in such a simple and engaging way, sharing with us. And I was learning like a student sitting over there with stalwarts from the field. And what I learned today was that luxury, two things I learned. Luxury is truly about being able to broaden one's horizons all the time. Be that for brands, continuously changing, experiencing new things, and for people who are in pursuit of luxury, for being able to broaden one's horizons. So if there's a destination wedding and everybody's going to Goa, then maybe I'll find a little village in Bali, or like you said, Italy, or wherever, or maybe in a village somewhere in India. It's about continuously broadening one's horizons and owning up to it. And the second thing which Suneet really encapsulated in his final remarks very well is that it's not just about the external part of luxury, which is the label part, but it's also about the person who's receiving with or without label, with or without the label, whatever he or she is receiving, is to have a bond with it, is to have a connection with it. And I think that inside-outside approach was really, truly enlightening. So thank you so much, Dinaz, for curating this wonderful panel, and each of you taking out truly the luxury of your time to expend on us over here. Really, really appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you so much, panelists, and thank you, Harbeen, for your closing thoughts. I'd like to invite and acknowledge. Dinaz, would you please be kind to give away the awards with Harbeen? I invite Philip Puri to accept this award on behalf of the Women Economic Forum as an exceptional leader of excellence. The Indian School of Hospitality founder and CEO, Suneet Verma, we bestow upon you at the Women Economic Forum the title, an exceptional leader of excellence and joyfulness and creativity. Inviting Akash Puri to accept this gesture of our gratitude for the work you do. Jyotika Jalani, the Women Economic Forum, is honored to present to you this award as the Exceptional Woman of Excellence. On this wonderful morning, after a beautiful journey in luxury beyond labels, we request you to please come together for a photo. And for us to do what we do best,